Like all the different types of rain in Forrest Gump, news in the mobile tech space comes in a variety of forms. Sometimes it's a big, sloppy swirl around a single device. Other times it's a sprinkling of vague rumor from all over the landscape. And other times, most times in fact, it's a cocktail of rumor and hard news spanning all 4 platforms and all 3 major form factors. Well, that's especially true this week, and we're here to bring it to you on episode 080 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week audio podcast where we discuss mobile technology, smartphones, tablets, wearables, most things in between. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, and joining me for today's show are the indefatigable multimedia manager, Jaime Rivera. Good afternoon to you.
Indefatigable. What is that? Where's my Where's my dictionary?
Grab your thesaurus, fancy boy.
Good afternoon to you, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I've had better days. I've had worse days. I'm right in the middle. But also here, proofreading a piece to go live very soon, Pocketnow's leading champion of headwear, senior editor Taylor Martin. Hey, man.
Hello, and I feel kind of like I don't deserve that title right now because I'm not wearing a hat.
You're not wearing a hat right now, and you have a new haircut, which I understand it makes you look like a jarhead.
Oh, it does?
No, I actually don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know what your hair looks like.
Oh, I just buzzed it all off, and yeah, I haven't worn a hat in 2 days. I don't even know what to do with myself.
Ventilating the cranium like some kind of professional. That's nice.
My ego was expanding and my hats were getting a little tight.
If you want to run cool, you've got to run on heavy fuel. That's what everyone says.
I don't know what that means, but yes.
Dire Straits.
Regarding hats, I'm on parole for time served. I used the hat for all of high school.
Used it like a baseball cap?
Yeah, up to the point where I can't see those things anymore. Like, seriously, I get a headache out of using them.
I got to get you one. I got Tony a Red Sox cap. I got to get you a... What?
Oh, nice. Red Sox is fine. They're the champs.
Maybe I'll get you a USS Enterprise cap.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've got to cover a show together for that to happen again. I'm looking forward to the next time that happens. Maybe Vejas. Maybe next year in Vejas.
Yeah, when are you going to buy me a pub hat?
I'm not going to buy you nothing.
What a jerk.
I know, that's
I thought
so
you were
sad.
supposed to be nice
I know, exactly. I just made myself very sad. Well, listen, guys, I've been gone for a week in Florida for a family vacation, and we're here to catch up on what's been happening. Unfortunately, listeners, we love the mail that you have sent in. As you know, we make every effort to get it on almost every show. Sadly, this is going to be one of the weeks that we skip it because there's just too much to talk about, but I promise you we will be getting to it hopefully next week, soon, in any case. So thank you for your patience on that. I've asked Jaime and Taylor to be especially familiar with the rundown today, which should be fine because most of what's in the rundown is stuff that they've either commented on or written originally or know something about. But guys, what a...
Or bashed in the Pocketnow Daily.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, I don't know how long you've been doing the Pocketnow Daily Roundup, this format. Like, you led into this... what do you call it? The Pocketnow Weekly Review? No, the Pocketnow Daily... The recap. That's it. Yeah. I don't know how long you've been leading into that with an assortment of tweets from your readers or comments.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, first of all, you should watch the Pocketnow Daily because that's how I get most of my tech news in the morning. And Jaime just kicked it off with a bunch of comments just... Basically, assaulting your delivery, right? It's like,
it's either my name not being able to pronounce it, or the fact that I speak too fast.
Yeah. Or I loved your response to that. It's like, if you slowed it down by like 80%, we could hear you. And you're like, what? If you listened like 20% faster, you could hear me better.
Seriously, come on. How else do you expect me to keep it under 3 minutes?
It's a good point. And we could learn something from you, Jaime, here on the podcast that always goes over time every time. But I admire your, brevity. There we go. That's the word. Speaking of which, while Taylor is finishing proofreading his piece and maybe hitting the publish button, who knows, we're going to jump into Android. Taylor, are you okay for that?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm trying to work through this really long article.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk about your favorite phone, the one you most enjoyed reviewing.
By all means, leave me out of this discussion. Actually, no, I find that actually more interesting than the phone itself.
Me too. Let's lift the veil on this mystery. Jaime, tell us what's going on here.
I still don't understand. I mean, why would it be more appealing to you? So the Sony Xperia Z Ultra is now on sale at its Wi-Fi only variant, which would mean that instead of paying $680 for the, cell phone capable one, you pay $450 now for this. I don't understand what the point of this phone or tablet is when you can buy two Nexus 7s for that amount, or 3 for the amount of the cell phone capable one, and have a happier experience. Taylor.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat on, I agree. I don't understand why it exists, but I think it's kind of compelling in that it's actually just a tablet. So it's bringing the tablet size down into the phablet category. And it's just, that to me is interesting. That doesn't necessarily mean I want to buy it. Especially not for the price. The price is the hard selling point.
What is the price?
Yeah, $450.
$450. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you compare that to something like the G Pad or the Nexus 7 or any of that stuff, it's expensive. It's too expensive. But in the same respect, it's a very premium device. The display is very high resolution. The battery life is great. At least it was with cellular connectivity. So without that, it must be even better.
They have a good processor as well.
Yeah, the performance is mind-blowing. The phone itself is a powerhouse. And in terms of build quality and all of that, it's far superior to the Nexus 7, the G Pad, or any of the other Android tablets in the same smaller category. It's the hardware and build quality is phenomenal.
Oh, completely agreed. Yes.
Yeah. But the problem I have with that is the size. Why carry, you would not carry a phone and a 6-inch tablet, right? That to me just doesn't quite make sense. I mean, I guess
it's tough because it's right in that same neighborhood as the 7-incher, right?
Yeah, so yes. I did
it's
a size
6.4 inch, by the way. It's 6. We have to, if we're going to talk about this kind of size discrepancy, we do have to note that it's almost 6.5 inches. I know it sounds like splitting hairs, but that's significant.
Yeah, and I did a size comparison. I mean, it's far closer to the size of the Nexus 7 than it is, say, the Note 3.
Sure.
And if you're carrying a phone that's 5 inches, why carry a phone and a tablet that's 6.5 inch?
What if you don't want to carry a phone that's 5 inches? What if you you want to carry the Moto X?
So if you're carrying the Z1 Compact, that would be a great combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Lumia 925, just for diversity's sake, or the iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing that sort of mix-up, that's a very nice combination because the Z Ultra would still fit in something like a coat pocket or your pants pocket if you have baggier pants than I do.
You're wearing Jinkos, yeah.
I was about to say.
but yeah, it is very slim, and you can fit it in a lot of pockets. Yeah, so I think what you're saying is that it would be an okay combination, but not a lot of people are going to go for that given, the pricing?
The pricing and I think the size. I think there's kind of a balance that you need out of a tablet, and I think a 10-inch tablet for many people, as we've seen, I'm writing about this right now actually, or this is what I'm proofreading, is that smaller tablets are becoming far more popular than we probably ever imagined. Because I remember saying way back in the day that small tablets were useless because they weren't big enough to really make any sort of or provide a benefit over a smartphone, but they were, it was just kind of this gray area that they lived in, and that's where this is now. 7-inch tablets, we're okay with them, we like them, and then the 6-inch or 6.5-inch area is kind of
it's a weird zone. Yeah, but let me tell you though, I think I'm going to say something here that I think is true, and I didn't come to this realization until just now. If I were given the option between the new Nexus 7 and the Sony Xperia Z Ultra tablet, I would probably go for the Sony product because I'm not losing that much screen real estate, and I really, really like the improvement in industrial design from my perspective, and the build quality, and the waterproofness. We can't discount that as well.
Yeah, I can agree with you in that. I would actually own this if and only if it came in a Google Play Edition variant.
Oh, and it probably will, right? I mean, the phone does.
I'd hope so. That'd be great, and it would be cheaper, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Well, actually,
maybe not. No, Google Play Edition, they're not usually cheaper. They're usually the same
instinctively
price.
agreed, and then I was like, well,
yeah. Yeah, but I would actually probably do a last-minute audible and change my car mod because actually the 6.5 inch
6.4
form factor, or 6.4, actually fits my stereo space a little better. So.
There you go. So we have to mention here that this is in Japan right now. We don't have any international release right now, right? Yeah. So okay, if you're amped on this, I think this is a cool thing. I wrote a piece actually when the Z Ultra was announced. That was something. The headline was something like, "Let's call the Xperia Z Ultra what it is: a tablet that makes phone calls." Because that's what it is. Now that it can't make phone calls, it's
a Tony tab. It's a Tony phone.
It's a Tony phone. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I think that it's a good thing. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't exist. My only beef would be. The only thing I would change would be, like, I wish they had just gone this way in the first place, because I don't see what real benefit the phone offers other than cellular connectivity and making you look ridiculous when you talk on it. Should we talk about the other Sony product that's in the blog here? I think this one's going to appeal to a few more people, right, Jaime?
The Xperia Z2. I still, for example, I really haven't held the Xperia Z1 yet. I did love the ZL that I had, that I reviewed. But the Z2 is interesting because it's pretty much a Z1 in just about everything. It's got almost the same specifications up to the dot. The only difference is that this phone, so what we have is now leaks of the photos of it compared to the Z1. And first of all, what we're getting is a taller phone and a slimmer phone, but it's really the same phone. Another one of the rumors that's been talked about probably by the end of last week was that there was a plastic panel instead of a glass panel. So I'm just thinking that this is just a carrier variant of the Z1 for some region. We just don't know which one yet.
Well, it might be. I mean, when T-Mobile requested alterations to the Z1S, it was a plastic chassis, it didn't affect the glass on the outside, I don't believe. So maybe that's a carrier variant, but it would be a different request. I'm looking at the pictures right now, the blurry cam photos, and I got to be honest. Unless they're really big, like the Z Ultra we just talked about, Sony handhelds all kind of bleed together to me. They're all really fairly slim. They all have a sort of pronounced mid plate on the sides. They've got that big old button that I don't think looks very good. And compared to the tablets, and maybe you guys are going to think I'm wrong here, they always look a little too thick to me. Like the compact looks a little thick to me. This Z2 looks a little... I don't mean thick in the sense of like, oh, it's so thick, but relative, like I say, compared to the tablets, which are really thin from a...
the tablets are ridiculous.
I know.
Almost
I
too
wish,
thin.
but I wish the phones were that way as well. I mean, maybe they would be too fragile in that case. And Jaime, you might disagree with me because you wrote an editorial making the opposite point, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind the thicker phone if
like
it were better.
A little room in the trunk.
I really wouldn't mind. I guess it's not that I disagree with you guys. I really like Sony's design lately. I just wish their UI would evolve into something different.
I'm looking at the screenshots and I'm like, yeah, that's way familiar, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the problem is I've been using that UI since the Xperia S. And it's not a bad UI. It's just starting to look dated. I would rather use stock Android on a Sony designed phone than having that UI. Seriously.
But it's not an ugly UI. I think you're right.
It's not.
It's just aging a little bit.
It's just aging.
Isn't that weird? I mean, are we just unreasonable about this? Because I feel like I've been saying this a lot. Of course, who have we been beating up most on this, guys?
Samsung.
Thank you. We've been beating up on Samsung for TouchWiz for so long because we're so tired of looking at it. But then before that, we did it to iOS. Before that, I'm sure we did it to some other OEM. I can't think. Oh, it was probably the earlier version of Sense. Yes, exactly. Yeah. HTC Sense. So are we? I wonder if a study could be conducted that would generate any usable data about the relative fickleness of the tech press compared to the actual tech consumers. Do you think the real people are this fickle? I don't.
No. One good example would be the launch of the first iPad. We fully bashed it.
Yes.
All the industry,
Absolutely.
everybody was disappointed by the first iPad, and when you least expected, Apple sold 1 million in 10 days. It was pandemonium at that launch of the first iPad. Yeah. And, it's just to give you an idea. Of course, the tech press determines a lot of things. We do. The thing is, obviously, we are in a little bubble where we can actually compare everything,
right?
Whereas everybody else doesn't, and depending on the marketing, that will really determine if they're going to buy or not, I guess, or the availability.
Yeah. Well, that's the Sony news of the week. This is fuel for excitement for a lot of Sony fans and for the industry as a whole. We're still trying to get our hands on the Z1 Compact for review, by the way, listeners, and we are also slated to receive a Z1S. A lot of reviews have already gone up on that one. Will be a second wave on that or something similar, but I'm looking forward to it because I think this will be my first opportunity in a very long time to review a T-Mobile device. So I'm looking forward to see how their network improvements have gone in my area. So
if any.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that, though, because this is something I've wanted to explore for a while. You know, it's John Legere's doing his crazy stuff. The carrier is working to change a lot of things in the industry, and yet I have not been able to participate in any of that because, frankly, it just doesn't work where I live. And I'm not alone in that. Please.
Can I correct you?
Yeah?
Yeah, he tweeted the pronunciation of his name the other day.
Oh, it's not Legere?
No, it's Ledger.
Oh, Ledger. No kidding.
Yeah, he tweeted because he said it was something like, he said the pronunciation of my last name is Ledger, sort of like AT&T is about to jump off the ledge. Or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need to tweet the pronunciation of my name.
I need to. Yeah, you need to add it. I don't think there are enough R's in the tweet space.
Yeah, can you tweet your pronunciation, not the pronunciation, but your specific pronunciation?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to unfollow John Ledger pretty soon. Not because he's not cool, but because it kind of like all that account does is retweet people who are like, "I just left T-Mobile. #breakup. #better carrier." Like
I'm in the same exact boat.
I'm like, I don't need to see your picture of you in the T-Mobile store. Like, we don't need to do that. Anyway, let's move on. We're not talking about T-Mobile right now. We're talking about a manufacturer that, of course, we're big fans of here. At least two of us, I think. Motorola.
Three of us.
Three of us. Okay. Motorola is unsatisfied with the Moto G's frickin' groundbreaking price point of $179, apparently, because the company has Dennis Woodside, the CEO, in a recent interview with who is this? Trusted Reviews, has been talking about the idea of a smartphone more affordable than the Moto G. So the exact quote is, "Why can't these devices be $50? There's no reason that can't happen. So we're going to push that."
Nice. So, I mean, good on him.
I know. This is awesome. Now, we have seen this, right? We've seen this in another platform on Windows Phone with the Lumia 520, 521, 525.
Yeah, the other day it was available for $20 or $30 with a
off
contract.
Yeah,
I feel like buying 10 of those and just giving them away in the neighborhood for Christmas. It's like that's cheaper than your average Christmas gift.
So it's so ridiculous. Do you really feel like doing that? Because I felt like doing that.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this when I wanted to do that Moto G versus Lumia 520 video that I did a couple weeks back. And it was so cheap that I just wanted to run down to the Microsoft store and get it. And when Nokia told us that they could give us one to review, a loaner, there was a strange little part of me inside that kind of felt disappointed. I was like, but I wanted to go buy one. Like, just the novelty of going out to buy something that cheap that shouldn't be that cheap is that in and of itself is exciting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Crazy. So imagine we see something like this on the Android side. Motorola has proved they can do low price, excellent performance with the Moto G. Do you think that they can maintain that, though, down to the $50 price point? What do you think, Jaime?
Well, in the case of KitKat, that actually it gives you the ability to do that. It's capable of running great on lesser hardware.
Right.
So, it does open the door for, KitKat and Motorola are going to kill the spec race if they continue this route. If they can figure out how to pump some more money in their marketing, and they do push that $50 phone on whatever Snapdragon processor you want that doesn't have to be beefed up, not much RAM. At least as long as they give us expandable storage, if they could figure that out, that's going to be a hit. I mean, $50, that's not available. That's like when the Nexus 7 was first announced. I just went ballistic trying to buy it, even though I didn't need it, just because it cost $200.
Exactly. I'm serious. I say. Yeah, no, exactly. If something gets cheap enough to where you are bowled over by how cheap it is, and it's not some stupid Black Friday sale or whatever, like that in and of itself is an incentive to buy. It's crazy.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's like finance students out there have a better handle on this. I'm sure there's a term for this. I'm just kind of riffing. But I was so taken by the Moto G that I decided to keep it for as long as Motorola would let us keep it. Just because, you know how it is. Eventually we're going to have to do an After the Buzz. We'll have to do throwback if we keep it for 3 years or whatever. But, I was like, how can I trick this out? So I was shopping for colored backs on it the other day. Because, the colored cases that they announced?
Yeah.
Well, Clove has them. And I was like, I want to get a different color for this thing so I can make it. And then I was like, no, idiot. You have a Moto X. So why don't you think about looking at those new options that just launched? And that's, of course, the next topic in our rundown.
I'm about to say, I will. Do you need my shipping address for your current Moto X, or how do we do that?
This is still
I'm sure you're gonna get a wooden variant.
Do you know how badly I wanted it?
He is gonna get a black front with ebony back and black accents.
I want that. Not black accents. No. I wouldn't do that. That's too boring.
What color accents?
I feel like if you do black accents, like you're wasting that customization level.
Yeah, I felt the same way when I was going through Moto Maker with it, but nothing else looked nice.
You know what looks nice with ebony? Silver looks nice with ebony.
Yeah, it looked cheesy.
It didn't
like it.
Cheesy. No, it didn't.
Listen,
I'm going to do it right now.
I wanted to do blue. And then, you know what it is, though, on Moto Maker? When the ebony one is spinning around, that wood is really dark. And it kind of, I'm a little worried. Listen to how freaking shallow I am. I'm a little worried that people won't be able to tell that it's a wooden phone, that it'll be too dark, that you'll have to come over and look. So then I'm like, should I get the bamboo one? Oh, no, it's got a white trim on the back. Oh, but I can have a black face. But then it's like black front, white trim, bamboo back. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't like the way silver looks on it.
You're weird. You're weird.
Man, Moto Maker shouldn't be called Moto Maker. It should be Pimp My Phone or something like that.
Moto's Pimp My Phone service. Well, then I started getting intrigued by the walnut because the walnut's slightly lighter, but that wood just doesn't have as much character as ebony, if you ask me.
Well, ebony is stronger, by the way.
It's a stronger wood?
Yeah, it is.
I'd love to see a mahogany one.
Me too. Now, interestingly,
I'm confused. Sorry, mahogany is stronger. I don't know if ebony's stronger.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well,
ebony's more rare.
This is strange. I wonder if anybody's asked about this or if I just got something wrong at the Moto X event. But when they were announced, the wooden prototypes we saw were ebony, bamboo. What's it?
Teak.
Teak. Ebony, bamboo, teak, and cherry. But the cherry has been replaced by walnut, and I wonder why that is.
I think the cherry was made out of cedar, or no? Is cherry a wood type in the United States, by the way?
Isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, am I sounding like an idiot, or is cherry already represented?
The thing is, cedar is so red. I don't know what else could be redder than cedar. Like all the doors in my apartment are cedar. They're like beyond red, and that's that's a very light, and it's not a strong wood.
Yeah, see, when you actually search for Moto X Cherry, you get a lot of returns for the cherry red. And Taylor's just dropped a link into the chat with his super Google skills. Yeah, red cherry wood grain, dark cherry wood grain. Yeah, I mean cherry trees, right?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's
we don't see those. We don't see those down here.
Listen to all of us. Listen to we're such tech heads that we can't remember what trees are exist.
Yeah, like if you had a class of that in high school, come on, man. I learned those things because I actually worked with wood when I was a teenager, but not because that's like the average thing that the teenager knows.
My father's a genius woodworker, for real. I should know these things, and I don't. Anyway, the pricing on the Moto X is a little nice surprise. The bamboo one had a little bit of sticker shock, was $50 premium above, but these are all just a $25 extra.
$100 premium initially.
Oh, that's right. It was $100, and then it was
$100.
But now it's just $25 extra, which I think is great.
And it makes me regret buying mine.
Okay, the question is, gentlemen, would you really pay for a wooden phone?
Yes.
Heck yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without question.
That's
how
not
is that a question? We're audibly drooling over here, Jaime. We have been for 10 minutes.
Am I the only non-believer here? Come on.
You know what? No, you're not. But explain your position, though.
I don't know. Wood looks like wood on a phone. I guess I would just have to hold the phone. And if, for example, Michael, you've held the wooden phones. Yeah. Do they feel different?
No, they feel the same. Because they have a finish on them that supposedly protects the wood from moisture and such and things like that. So they feel a lot like the regular old backs. Because all the backs feel the same, whether they're weave or not, in my experience.
That is untrue.
I think they feel the same.
The matte finish feels significantly more premium than the weave.
I can't agree with that. No, I don't know. They feel the same in my experience. I'm gonna have to go to the AT&T store and check that out. Oh, by the way,
I have them both. Well, I have one of them, but I've had both.
We have different fingers. We have soft touch fingers. The two of us. They're just different.
Well, I guess the point being is, for example, I am a fan of wood. I am a fan of wooden touches in vehicles, and like when I buy furniture and stuff. For me, wooden accents are extremely important for me to buy something, and I am the type of guy that's willing to pay extra money for a good wooden finish.
Okay.
I guess again, my problem, like with the Pebble, and we're going to talk about that later on, is the fact that I would rather That's one of those things that I have to try out. But the cool thing is, again, with Moto Maker, you give it a try, you don't like it, 15 days, return it.
Also, in that same vein, Jaime, in the comments on this article, we have a user called 775 Summit who said, I wish I could get the wood back for the phone I currently have. I would think I could snap the back off and put a new wood back on, possibly. Well, of course, we know that's not really the case. But Stephen Schenk then responded, no promises, but Motorola Mobility was asked by another user, William Warren, are you going to swap out plastic backs for wood? Question mark, question mark, question mark. To which Motorola Mobility replied, stay tuned for more updates. Is that a stock social media response? But no.
That's a stock social media response.
Yeah, I know, but Motorola's Twitter account is actually pretty cool, though. Like, they engage like humans. They don't always just fart out crap. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but I can name a couple of companies that do.
They all do. Everyone falls into that trap at some point. Anyway, speaking of which, before I forget this, two things. Number one, I'm very disappointed that this Moto Maker news has come out that these wooden phones are available now, because it's the same week that my favorite Star Trek uniform ever is being recreated by a custom costume maker, and it costs like $1,000. So I have a very difficult choice to make. And by the way, it's all fake money. I don't have that much money just lying around. Of course, I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life. But more importantly, speaking of AT&T, who was the
I'm sorry, you just have me in shock. You're paying $1,000 for a Star Trek costume.
Technically, I'm not. Because I can't, but I want to. You understand? I want to pay for that, and I want to pay for the wooden Moto X.
I thought that the amount of Barcelona jerseys that I had was weird.
We're all fanatics about something, Jaime.
I know.
Look at Taylor. Look at Taylor. He's obsessed with cement mixers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Who isn't?
Can we make that a thing? Can we make you obsessed with cement trucks?
Yes.
I don't know why. It seems like something you'd be into. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
When those drums get spinning, I just can't. I got to drop everything I'm doing and watch it.
Yeah, I see one on the road and I follow it around and watch it. So
I want to get some stains on my car. He's like,
yeah.
No, don't touch my car.
No.
You don't want to upgrade your house or apartment to the Enterprise?
To the Enterprise apartment? No.
For $33,000?
Very sadly. I just put a sort of Doge-like status update up on Twitter, and like there was a lot. There's a lot of changes going on in everywhere in my life, and one of them is going to be my living situation come this fall. My perfect living situation is going to be broken up, but that's just the rigors of time, and that's how life goes. Things change.
I'm coming to hate my office, so
I'd still love my death booth. Hey, before I forget again, AT&T, the ones who are were the Moto Maker exclusive at first, is actually providing the bandwidth for this podcast, not through any arrangement, not through any kind of sponsorship, but because my household internet crashed right before the podcast time. So we're on a hotspot on an AT&T device, and that's great, because things are going well.
You sound like if you're in Honduras, seriously.
Yeah, isn't it great?
And that's the type of stuff that I deal with.
God, I love LTE. I mean, I could be doing this on Verizon. Yes, I could probably be doing this on Sprint, but AT&T was the first thing I had, so I was like, all right, let's do it. It's great.
Yeah, I'm actually going to tell you that was my fault. I did that on purpose.
You sent a bullet through because I have a hot box because I'm getting pay-per-view for free.
No, I sent that so I could actually finish the editorial, which I didn't do.
Thanks. And finally, to close this out on the Moto Maker, I was so obsessed, and at one point I really did think I was going to drop that grand on a Star Trek uniform, that I was like, maybe they'll give us a review unit. Maybe I can just like play with a review unit. So it's just
a review unit.
Yeah. So I was like, why not? It can't hurt to ask. So I just fired off an email. I was like, hey, Motorola, is it a long shot? But you guys got any of those? They didn't even bother to answer. They were like, who is this chump? No, sir. You can't have anything. That's not what they said.
I found someone who wants to buy my Moto X. So I'm going to try to sell one and buy the Ebony in 32 gigabytes.
Nice. You're trying to sell the one that says Casper Tech, right?
No. That one is somewhere on its way to me now.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
FedEx
God, we have so much on this. All right, so that's the last thing we're going to talk about with the Moto X. This week, or possibly early next week, because of these delays caused by the winter storm in the Northeast, we are going to have a Moto X durability report from Taylor Martin. And we're also going to have a Moto X After the Buzz, which many of you have been asking for. Some of you argued it should have gone up before the Note 3 After the Buzz. I can't really disagree with you. That was my fault. I was just a schedule mix-up, so that was my bad. So,
yeah, from what Brandon tells me, my Moto X, which he sent back to me, is going to be in great condition for the durability report because he dropped it several times.
Awesome.
Have you any idea what it's like okay, so I have to film a throwback of the first generation iPhone, which I am currently filming between today and tomorrow.
Good.
I'm trying to hide everything that Brandon did to that phone.
He is like the worst when it comes to phones. He was like, yeah, I'm not like Jaime. He was telling me, I was like, you dropped my phone? He's like, yeah, I'm not like Jaime. I don't baby phones. He said, I think they should be able to, handle a little use.
Brandon was the first one to film the durability report, and I was like, man, this is like perfect for you.
Match made in heaven. Yeah.
Match made in heaven. I remember at one point, Brandon was like, hey, I've got this Inspire 4G here that I don't need. You want to know? Those were the days where it was really hard for us to get phones. And so I'm like, oh, sure, come on, send it over. Oh, my God. When he sends the damn phone, he writes this piece of paper. It says, enjoy it. I'm like, God.
Because it's just destroyed.
It was destroyed.
I want to say in this vein that when I dropped the Moto X on the sidewalk a number of months ago and I tweeted about it and I was all sad-faced and it was like the epitome of first world problems, I busted it up. And more than one person tweeted back at me like, hey, if that was a Lumia, that thing would look a lot better. Well, I dropped my Lumia 1020 on some pretty hard concrete on this vacation, and let me tell you what. That thing don't look much better than the Moto X. It got beat up. And that stinks because we just did a durability report on that. That's a problem. You can't update a video after it's up. I mean, YouTube's got to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, well, you can with Vimeo. You can release an updated version of the same video.
God, that's cool. That's so cool. I wish Vimeo was bigger. But if it were bigger, more jerks would be on it, blah, 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 blah. We have to move on. The Moto X is not the only device with an X in the name that we're going to talk about this week. We want to briefly touch on the fact that a device from HTC called the M8X appeared in a government database. Taylor, you want to tell us about that one?
Not really.
Sure you do. You're excited about this. All right. See, Jaime, thank you for stepping up. Thank you.
So the problem with this M8X, and this happened with the HTC One, there was an M7X as well. It's just the variant. So these news come from Indonesia, and it's been submitted for government approval as the M8X, but obviously it's probably the same phone. There are no specifics, no details, just the different name. And what I'm guessing is, again, we're just getting a carrier variant, just like what happened with the M7X at some point.
I like Steven's speculation here. He's like, this could be anything from a mini version of the M8 to a cheaper plastic-bodied version. But heck, maybe the X is just padding because the database didn't like two-character names.
That's one.
I love that. It could be anything.
That's one, or the fact that it probably just has different radios. I mean, we don't know if the One Plus or whatever the M8 is going to be called is going to bring LTE Advanced. It most likely will, but we don't know.
Do you think they'll call it the One Plus?
I think so. I think they're going to keep the One name for a long time, and I like it. I like it. I mean, we had the One X, the One S, the One. What was the other one?
Don't forget, we had the One X Plus as well. And the
the One X Plus,
so the One SV.
Oh god!
So let's have the One Plus, the One Minus, the One multiplied by and divided.
So you don't want them to call it the 2? HTC 2.
All I'm worried about is where the video of HTC's CEO on stage starting an M8 chant is. That's all I want in life.
M8.
M7. M7.
Well, that's that rumor. I hope that we see some stuff. I was sort of expecting that we might see some rumors on that launching maybe around February or something like that. Because that's when the One was announced last year, right? I seem to recall it being very cold in New York City and like snowing at the event.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think it came out in March. Yes.
Announcement: New York City HTC One says what? Event February 19th, 2013. So.
Yep.
That would be cool if we had that same kind of staggered thing here, because then we get HTC One or HTC 2, whatever, in February. We'd probably get Galaxy S5 in March or whatever. But the rumors are all over the place on this. Nothing's reliable on this.
And the rumors yesterday on the Galaxy S5 from what's this? Eldar Mortison. Did I pronounce that right?
I took my headphones off and I couldn't hear you.
He tweeted that Sorry, buddy. But he tweeted that the phone will be announced, the Galaxy S5, on February 23rd, which is an MWC.
Oh, right.
And that we'll get it in April, which makes a lot of sense. It kind of matches both rumors together of an April launch and a February launch. It's just not going to be launched in February. It's going to be announced and then give it 2 months, give or take.
It'll be interesting to see. Let's talk about Samsung really quickly to close this out. There's 2 other things in the category. The Galaxy Note 3 Neo renders have appeared. Do you guys like this naming convention for variants of Samsung models? I kind of like it because they did this with the Ativa S Neo.
Just release one phone. Like,
With Samsung, they can't do that. They got to be, they got to stay true to their Samsung roots.
That just drives me up the wall. Like, why? Why do you need a Neo? Like, they need some sort of 6-month update that nobody's going to buy.
So what's the story on this? This is a slimmed down version of the phablet with an unusual 6-core SoC.
Yeah.
What else has gone on with this sucker?
A unique camera flash setup. Like it's the same position, but it's notably different because the Note 3 has the camera and the flash in the hump with a little ring around it. This doesn't have the flash in the hump. It's just the camera in the hump. Like, why? Like,
but then the only spec boost is actually that processor. Then everything is lesser. It's got only 2 gigs of RAM. It's got only 16 gigs of storage, I believe.
What about the display? Is it 720p or 1080p?
That's a good question. It's still debatable. They're not mentioning if this is an LCD. So there was a rumor initially that this was an LCD, and that actually matches with the previous rumors before the launch of the Galaxy Note 3 that there were like 7 different variants of the phone. Right. You remember we were expecting for there to be an active variant of the Galaxy Note 3.
Oh, yes, I remember. That would have been awesome.
So, that's the thing. We still don't know. The only reason that Neo would make sense is if it did something better than the Note 3. And we're wondering if this is like the sort of a Galaxy Note 3 active variant. But we don't know. It's just really hard to tell.
If they're going to take a step down in the specs like this, and I'm not a spec head, you know me, but this looks like a significant decrease in power. And the Note line is the premium line. So why would you taint that? Why wouldn't you just omit the stylus and then build a large screen device with mid-range specs? And wait, they did. They
call it a Mega.
Call it a Mega. Call it. Do a dozen devices like that, but don't ruin the Note line like the whole Galaxy brand name has just been like. Oh my God, there's so many.
So from Sam Mobile, it says it'll sport a 5.55-inch 720p Super AMOLED display.
Okay.
And an 8-megapixel camera. Okay. So it's lower resolution camera, 720p AMOLED display.
So when you do this, like,
why?
It's not right. It's not like.
Why don't you just relaunch the Galaxy Note 2?
Sure, exactly. But you're just diluting the premium nature of the brand. And you say, what's the counter argument? What's the counter argument? Is it like, well, people want to be able to afford a Note, and some people can't afford the top of the line Note, so we're going to make a lower end Note, but there are devices already fulfilling that segment, And the Note brand is now going to be less lustrous as a result, I think.
It's just like, okay, so if they took on maybe the same sort of system that the car market has, where you have this one phone and then you have a step up from it. So instead of just having a bump in storage space, you had a bump in maybe the processor, a bump in camera resolution, a bump, like an overall upgrade for more money instead of just more storage. Maybe I could understand doing something like this, but this is like they release a phone and then they release a variant of that phone. And then they release another variant that's kind of the same as the other variant, but it's a little different. I mean, it's just like they release 30 variants of the same phone, and they can't be making a lot of money off of, say, this version of it. It doesn't make sense to me because...
No.
Yeah, there's a bit of interesting speculation in the comments where someone named Gelvin Maximus is saying it'll combine with other Galaxy Note 3 variants to let Samsung say the Note 3 sold in millions. I mean, that's an interesting bit of PR, but already they can say that because the Note family is so robust right now. They can tweak those numbers however they want.
Yeah, they said something like last year.
Yes and no. He's got a good point. I mean, the iPhone, they don't tell you iPhone was the one that sold more. They just tell you we sold 10 million iPhones in a week, but they don't tell you if it's the 4S or the 5C or the 5S. So it is a good point. They're trying to dilute the brand, and that's a good idea. Again, I guess the problem is this is not significantly different than the Note 3. When it comes to size, I'm like, why don't you just give me an enhanced Galaxy S? 4, with the digitizer.
S5 is coming right in 2 months. The S5 is going to be here, so it's like, why?
Well, if this came at a significantly lower price, maybe it would make sense. But at
significantly lower,
like $200 or $300. But we are looking at
€600 in Belgium.
Yeah, so $811 for conversion. So it's not a direct thing because it never is when you're jumping from country to country. But
it's compared to €750 for the actual Note 3.
Yeah, I mean that's not a big drop.
To do. Yeah,
and just a tiny other little thing, like why it matters, I don't know. But the trim around the outside is not lined like all the other Note devices.
Right, it's smooth. It appears to be. Yeah, which is just so. So what do you think?
Why?
Listeners, we've batted this around a lot. Obviously, we don't really understand it. If there's a compelling business reason that you can see for this that makes sense to you, please leave it in the comments below. Because, sometimes we like to be know-it-alls when we actually feel like we know something. But I think I speak for all three of us when I say we don't understand this move, right?
We don't get it.
Yeah. So please help us understand. If anybody out there understands, please help us understand. Finally, closing out the Android category, new Samsung UI. The phone version of the tablet, the magazine UX we saw on the new notes and tabs at CES. The new smartphone UI has leaked, courtesy of EvLeaks. We talked a little bit about this last week. And it looks a whole lot like that magazine UI. It looks like some weird combination of magazine UI, Google Now, and Windows Phone 8. And I don't know what I think about it from these screenshots. How do you feel?
Well, Samsung is just looking for a different company to sue them, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's not that much of a ripoff,
like
right? It is something new.
Okay, so the tablet UI looks a lot like Windows, which is cool. I like, so for probably one of the things that I don't like about Windows is the staleness. I like the fact that Samsung uses different elements to make it look a little more elegant. But, then again, I like it. I like the change. We've been dealing with the same type of Android for years. Why not try something different? I mean, this UI I'm trying to remember how old it is. What? The basic home screen of Android with different screens and the app tray and everything. So I love the fact that they're trying something different.
Me too. And it was done to great effect on the tablets, I think. We haven't spent a lot of time with them, but I think we all like them on the big screens.
Yeah.
Yeah, last week I did an editorial on the magazine UX. And it was Samsung's magazine UX, hot or not. And I went over it. Yeah, I went over all the different parts of it and explained it in great detail. And I think the look and appearance and everything of how magazine UX works is great. I like it. But there's a problem. Instead of Samsung just going back to the drawing board and fixing all the problems with TouchWiz and everything, all they did was put more on top of TouchWiz.
Well, we don't know that that's the case.
It is.
With the smartphone version.
Not with the smartphone version, but with magazine UX on the tablet, all they did was add more onto TouchWiz. So they're adding more to something we've been saying needs to be slimmed down for ages. Because really, if you want to get rid of magazine UX, you can. You can use just the tablet UI. Like
you can. But HTC did the same thing with Sense 5. They, the previous versions of Sense were over-engineered. They were big old 3D, blah, blah, blah. And then HTC fixed all that, but they did add more in the form of blink feed, the gallery stuff. They added a lot more, but the performance was so good and it was so cohesive in style that it was a success, I think.
Yeah, but it was different. It was very different in that Sense 4 and Sense 5 were different from the core. Like, they looked different. They added some features to it, but they didn't just plop a new thing on top of what was already there. They took out the UI and put in a new one. Samsung, all they've done here is like, oh, you don't like the UI? We're going to just add something on top of it and leave the old UI there too. So it's like we're complaining because it's so bloated and it's so clunky, and they just keep adding and adding and adding and adding without taking out the stuff that nobody wants or cares about. They just add and add and add. And that's the problem with magazine UX. Now, is that going to be the same on the handset side? The screenshots seem to lead to that, but I have no idea.
What do you think?
I'm gonna ask you guys a question. I mean, and this has to do a lot with the Note 3 Neo as well. I mean, with KitKat, you do have that advantage. I mean, you guys have been using KitKat. I haven't used it yet. Because you probably don't notice a difference because it just works well. But I do wonder how TouchWiz is going to behave on a much slimmer operating system. That's probably one of my biggest questions. I do know that they're swapping one thing on top of the other. I guess so. Here's the big problem with TouchWiz. How many people do you know out there don't have a Galaxy phone? It is just so popular. How do you prove these people? How do you prove to these people that they need to change their UI?
How do you make the case as Samsung?
How do you tell Samsung, listen, your UI is stale and it's dated, but you're selling millions of Galaxy phones?
It's like we talked about before. It's like we're much more fickle than the average consumer.
Exactly,
and the average consumer is already fickle.
So I guess that if Samsung is doing it, I guess it has a lot to do with the fact that KitKat is probably so slim that they're capable of doing it without bogging down.
And absolutely, and from what we've seen at CES, that's largely true. There's very little response lag in the tablet versions of this. At least in the tabs. In the notes, it's a little different.
And that's a good thing, because remember how many pixels were being powered by that processor.
Yeah, and a 12.2-inch display as well.
Were those were Snapdragon processors as well?
Well, were
chipsets.
They? Were they? Because there's the two variants, right? There's the Exynos.
Yeah, so it's hard to know. On Snapdragon, TouchWiz lately has been pretty good. But if you get these, if the new Galaxy S5 or whatever has an Exynos chip inside, I'm just going to stop there.
Well, that's good, because we have to stop there with Android too. We're over time as usual, but we expected that was such a news-heavy show. What say we move into Windows Phone? We have a news story from January 17th indicating that maybe, after 4 months, the Microsoft Nokia deal is getting ready to wrap up. Now, 4 months, that's not a lot of time for an acquisition of this size. I think it took a lot longer than that for some carrier mergers to happen here in the States. But these are different types of companies. But here's the story. In a statement this week, which was last week, Nokia advised investors that its next financial report is going to be a little different on account of Microsoft's purchase, of course. Specifically, it intends to label the smartphone arm that Microsoft's acquiring as discontinued operations, and going forward, it'll only report on its other business interests. So there's no surprise in there whatsoever, but all it means for us is that we're going to be keeping our ears open, as Steven says, until then, in hopes of catching some official news. Nokia's report is due on the 23rd, so it's due tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. It's really going to be interesting to see what Microsoft does with the hardware arm that they've acquired. Speaking of Microsoft, we have a slight, well, I don't know if this is a correction much as it is as much as an update. Last week, we talked about Microsoft possibly spending very large figures to entice manufacturer interest in Windows Phone. That's what it was, right?
Yeah, and these are very interesting news because so a lot of people, and this is the constant comment of Microsoft having so much money to throw at whatever they do that they're just going to do it. And a lot of people have assumed, or the rumors there, that Microsoft paid $1 billion to get OEMs to adopt Windows Phone. And Frank Shaw, which I don't know who he is, but, he's a Microsoft executive, said on Twitter that they go into co-marketing deals, which I consider to be even worse than whatever you would want from Microsoft. Their marketing ad company is terrible.
You've said as much. Yeah.
I am serious. I have never seen more ridiculous ads in my life than Microsoft's Windows Phone ads, and specifically the latest Nokia ads are just terrible.
All this will be changing, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse.
No, yeah. What do you mean for the better? Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but he confirmed, or he says that those $1 billion figures are not true. They're not doing this.
There's quite an exchange on this initial tweet. This tweet was great. It was like reality check. And do we do co-marketing with partners? You bet. But these numbers are complete fiction. And there's a big exchange between a lot of bigwigs, including Paul Theroux and Fried. And did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, and here's the deal. How many OEMs have you learned?
I just said yeah so he could talk.
How many OEMs do you know have adopted Windows Phone in the last couple of months? I could even say a year. I mean, the last HTC Windows Phone was that Sprint phone that you reviewed that was terrible.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
And then that Samsung phone that you reviewed that was terrible as well for Sprint.
Yeah. But we do have some, we have rumors of a new Samsung Windows Phone. We have rumors of Sony, actually confirmed rumors, I think, of Sony's interest in building Windows Phones. So it's not, it's not a completely stagnant pool. But they have this huge distraction of this impending merger that's going on. So I don't know.
That paired with all the flack it's getting for all its marketing efforts.
Yeah. It's a tough space to try to grow in. And of course, we're now in the lull after the major Nokia World announcement. We just got a bunch of devices dumped on the world, and now we're in the post-Nokia World pre-merger completion lull. And so that's just going to be the way it is for a while. But Microsoft, I just wanted to include the fact in the podcast that, yes, Microsoft did address that, and they dispute it. They say it's not true. And, well, that'll be it until the next rumor we hear, I guess. Dual mode Android Windows phones. Guys, I want to hear about this. Jaime, I want you to tell us about this device. And then, Taylor, I want you to tell us about how it's not real. Does that make sense?
Well, first of all, this dual mode phone is... So it is an Android phone. It was launched by this Korean company that I'm trying to remember the name right now. Bluebird, yeah. So they launched this phone, but it's like a sort of an enterprise phone because, yeah, it does run Android, but the problem is that even though they say that it looks like Windows Phone, it's not really Windows Phone. It's really Windows Embedded 8 handheld. I'm like, can you imagine me going to my dad right now being like, look, Dad, I'm going to give you a new Windows Embedded 8 handheld phone.
It's so confusing that Jaime can't even say it.
I'm serious.
No, it reminds me of the old days of Windows Mobile. Like, there's a name very similar to this in the Windows family that I can't remember. Maybe it was one of the CE versions for mobile. I don't know what it was, but yeah. So the device, but there's even more to this because you can't switch on the fly, right, Jaime?
No, you have to. So this is like a ruggedized phone that it's focused for business. I don't even think that it's going to make the light of day when it comes to retail.
Probably.
And from my understanding, you can't really swap the OSs immediately. They don't specify how long it takes for you to reboot that thing or how exactly is that going to work.
It's not a dual boot phone.
Yeah, because the capacitive buttons on the bottom are actually different in each iteration. Yeah. So these are different hardware variants of the same phone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they have the same specs. They just have different capacitive buttons, and you have to order them as a corporate. They're not ever going to be retail devices.
Okay.
They're corporate devices, for enterprise solutions, for something like Home Depot or something to that effect.
So this is totally bogus. Like, so this, not that the headline is, because I love Steven's headline, dual mode Android Windows Phone ish handset a reality. Because it's not that, it's not what we think of. It's not a dual booting handset that we've been fantasizing about and talking about for ages. It's, you choose one or the other at point of sale. It's probably never going to make it to retail. There's a lot like that Motorola XT Windows line for Sprint. So I guess that makes the device itself much less interesting. But what is Windows Embedded 8 handheld, Taylor?
I'm glad you asked. Because I spent...
Here's my Windows Embedded 8 handheld for you. Here.
Yeah, because I spent a lot of time yesterday researching and trying to dig through and find out exactly what Windows Embedded 8 handheld is.
Yeah.
And you didn't find... No, you didn't.
No, I did.
I'm just kidding.
It's basically... Okay, so Windows Embedded has been around for ages. And Windows Embedded Handheld has been around for ages. Before this update, which actually came out to manufacturers in around October, Windows Embedded Handheld was based on Windows Mobile 6.5. So it's been around, and I've probably used it myself at some point through one of my retail jobs. But it was just kind of, Windows Mobile. It was antiquated. So they brought Windows Embedded Mobile or Handheld up to speed with Windows Phone 8. It's built on Windows Phone 8. It looks like Windows Phone 8, but the enterprise customer that purchases these hand phones, the enterprise, this whole word is just killing me. The enterprise customers that purchase this handheld from a manufacturer can have the UI customized to their needs. So if you look at the headline image that I used for that article, the Home Depot actually has a custom Windows Phone interface.
Yeah, it looks like you're stuck in an Amazon app or something like that, like the Windows Phone Amazon app. Like they've designed their own thing with custom tiles, and it looks like Windows Phone, but it looks like a Windows Phone app, really. But that's the UI, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's never meant to be a consumer product. It's purely enterprise, and it's mainly targeted at retail associates, floor-level people who are selling things. And the best way to think of Windows Embedded 8 Handheld is to think of it like you walk into an Apple store and every employee there has an iPhone with a card, like a magnetic stripe reader on it. So if you want to check out at any time, if you don't have an iPhone yourself and can't check out yourself, you find the nearest associate that's not working with someone, and you say, hey, I want to buy this, and they're like, great. You swipe a card, and you walk out. Yeah,
and this makes a ton of sense, because I think the last time I was in the Microsoft store, what were they using for their handheld checkout stuff? It wasn't a Windows phone. Wasn't it like an old, clunky Windows Mobile 6.5 thing?
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense for that. That's just one application. And
shame on you, Microsoft. Shame on you. Why don't you use your updated hardware like Apple does with their old generation iPod
remember,
Touch?
And when Apple stores first came out, they had Windows CE devices, and I remember that back then. So, but this is great, because Windows has a long history of having this massive business, this enterprise arm. And it's taken forever for the UI update and stuff like that. But Taylor, what's the core? I mean, this is built on the same core as Windows Phone 8?
Yeah, it is built on Windows Phone 8. Okay. Not just the core, it is built on Windows Phone 8. And you can run any of your Windows Phone 8 apps so long as the administrators allow it.
Has allowed it, yeah.
Yeah, and you can also run off-the-shelf Windows Phone apps. So Microsoft Link, Office 365, Dynamics for Retail, and all of those other ones that you can't purchase as a consumer, but as an enterprise user or with a government contract.
Cool.
And don't worry, listeners. If you had never listened to those applications before, neither had I.
I want one of these. I want to review one of these.
So basically, you're not ever going to see a sales associate that's using Windows Embedded 8 Handheld using a Lumia device or a T.
Right. It's going to come from Motorola Solutions, Intermec, Honeywell, Ingenico, and Bluebird.
Yeah.
And so on.
So there are specific devices, and the hardware is always going to be ruggedized. The hardware is going to have magnetic stripe readers built in, so it's not going to be like a square dongle you plug in.
Very cool.
The phone itself will have a stripe reader, barcode scanners, all kinds of other stuff.
This is cool. Now, but oddly enough, We heard a news story about 6 months ago or something that Delta was equipping all of their flight crews with Windows phones. It was like one of the bigger Windows Phone orders of the time. And I guess that happened with like Lumia 925s or something. I don't know what it was. It was or 820s. But it's funny to me that happened, and now this has come out, and now I'm just picturing some Delta buying exec being like, God, this would have been way better, and now we're stuck with these. F you, Microsoft. But I think this is good. I think this feels like an important gap, and thank you for all your research, your legwork there, Taylor, and helping us figure out what the F this is.
Yeah, when I started yesterday, I had no idea.
It's so cool. I love pieces like that where you learn, like you know nothing, and then by the time you're done with the piece, you know enough. Right? Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, I have to make myself an expert on things I have no idea what they are.
It's like the most fun part of the job. I love doing that. I don't get to do it anymore. I just do videos now. Frown on face. Hey, last thing in Windows. Most exciting thing in Windows, even though I'm not a super Halo nerd. We've talked about this. Have either of you guys played Halo?
Nope.
Which part of Halo? Halo?
Any of them.
I've played them.
You're not too amped on them.
No.
But
not at all.
I'm on the podcast with the wrong people.
Yeah, I don't like any of the Halos I've ever played.
I love the Halos. Anyway, the concept of Halo is a science fiction game series written for Xbox. It's the flagship line, or it was for a long time, the flagship Microsoft gaming experience. And there is a piece of artificial intelligence within Halo called Cortana, which is represented by a beautiful holographic woman, but she's actually a computer. And she has a wonderful voice. I don't know who the voice actress is. I should have found that out, and I will while I'm
talking.
Jen Taylor. Is that right?
Jen Taylor.
Wow, you're awesome at that. Did you write this story, or are you just I'm
just looking at
point? You're looking at it. It's in the piece.
As you were saying that, it said I was reading supposedly Jen Taylor will return to her Halo role by the system speaking voice.
Probably should have trusted Stephen to have looked that up. Yes. Well, this is great. So this isn't just great news if you're a stupid nerd like me, right? It's Microsoft intelligently leveraging one of their more popular platforms or products, I guess you could call the Cortana voice, and using it to drive attention toward Windows Phone. They tried to do this with Xbox games and Xbox Video and the Xbox brand as a whole with Windows Phone integration, but because Windows Phone's game catalog is not terribly compelling still, it didn't really work, right? So this might be a little bit of a detail, but the fact that everyone knows what Google Now is, everyone knows what Siri is, and the fact that Microsoft is now going to have, presumably, a compelling alternative to those services, and is going to call it Cortana, is pretty cool. I don't think this is a game changer. I think it's just a very smart move. Go ahead, Jaime.
The only cool thing about calling that thing Cortana is that at least you know the name doesn't mean your backside in Japanese.
What, like Siri?
Yeah.
Siri means butt? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow, how about that? Yeah, I wonder what Cortana means in, Turkish. I don't know.
Seriously.
But
I hope they keep it true to character, though, and not make it just this...
Oh, just like a dumb thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how Cortana speaks. Like, I don't know her persona
Cortana's got a little bit of an edge. Like, she has a little snark. She has a quip or two every now and then. Yeah.
All right. And that's fine. As long as they don't just, go out of their way to make it more snarky or something like that. That would just, ugh. Yeah,
no, I really hope they don't mess that up. But remember, unfortunately, we're still at this point in voice interface technology where, they can't have Jen Taylor come in and just record every possible phrase that she could ever utter. Like, they have to, record all the phonemes and the whatever you call them, and they have to come together. So she's still going to sound, I would think, much more robotic than the actual scripted VO game files,
Yeah, because she's not doing full sentences pre-scripted.
Exactly.
She's reading
the sound.
Sentences out. Yeah, she's reading sentences out that cover each sound,
each consonant combination and vowel, and yeah.
But
so
anyway,
why can't we get
what?
Bus runs, dog. Just random words in a sentence.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Yeah.
What I mean.
Why can't we get Scarlett Johansson on this? She did such a fabulous job on her.
Oh, on her? Have you seen her?
I haven't yet.
Spike Jonze film. I need to go see it. I haven't seen it either. Because Scarlett Johansson,
she's a fantastic lady.
But she is not Cortana. Jen Taylor is not to be questioned, everyone. All right? Not on this show. Anger.
All right.
You
Scarlett Scarlet.
So,
all right.
If you want in on this and you have ways of getting into Microsoft's developer beta, apparently it'll launch on Lumia devices this April. Hooray. What do you think about that? Great times.
Send me a Lumia device because I do have access.
Sounds good. Wait,
that means they started recording a long time ago.
That's a really good point. Yeah, we were talking like in future tense. We didn't have to. I really, really, really want to see that. Even if it's under NDA, which it will be, and we can't like do reporting on it until a certain time. I just want to see it. I just want to use it because this has been a huge glaring hole in Windows Phone. The voice interface sucks, and I use it all the time on other platforms. Okay, that's the end of Windows Phone. What say we cover quickly iOS news? Jaime, what do you think?
You use S-Voice? God.
Oh, God, no. Actually, on the Galaxy Gear, I do because I have no choice. But we'll talk about that in a second. I know. All
right, let's move to iOS.
Please.
So one of the biggest rumors that we have, this is very interesting because we have this leak of the car interface that we should expect for iOS. Well, iOS 4.1 beta is expected to bring this whole new car interface. And it's just funny because a lot of people are speculating that this could probably be just an application that was leaked and not really the car interface. But, everybody that has access to iOS 7.1 beta has access to it. I haven't loaded it on my phone because I haven't had the time. But yeah, I'll confirm that eventually. But it's just the new car UI. It's just the differences that they offer. I don't understand. I thought that this was going to be more of something that was going to come on dashboards, like what's happening with Android and Audi and all these companies in the Open Automotive Alliance, and not the phone having a navigation UI, there are a ton of third-party applications that already do that. So, I don't really know what to expect or it looks very simplistic. It looks very nice, but we've seen it from everybody else already. HTC does a really good one.
Oh, what, an automotive interface?
Yeah.
Taylor, what do you think about this? You're the other car guy.
I don't have anything to add. I don't know what to make of it. It doesn't look terribly interesting or impressive or unique, or it just looks like something we've seen a million times from Apple. Not
exactly.
from Apple, but from other companies now by Apple.
Exactly. It doesn't look like anything that we haven't already seen by competitors, and even applications you can already install on your iPhone. So I don't think that's like hot stuff.
Yeah, it's. I had this on, I think the original Moto Droid or Motorola Droid.
Yeah.
So, it came with a driving mode that did exactly this back in 2010, 2009. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, okay, cool, Apple, that's great. Now, the difference here is that iOS in the car is also a different thing. That iOS will soon have car integration.
Because actually, the product name is actually iOS in the car.
It's called iOS in the car, where a car comes with iOS integration built in.
But that's what I was
cool. But this,
I don't know. I guess. Go ahead.
It's still no different than the navigation you already have built into your car, except for it uses Apple Maps. Okay, great.
God,
awesome news.
I can't get excited over that.
Yeah, like I said, I guess I was expecting something that wasn't a phone interface. I was expecting like the real deal, something that is really going to compete with Android on cars. That's really what I was expecting. That's what's been talked about ever since the launch of iOS 7 initially. And we still haven't really gotten it. So I guess we should expect for for iOS 7.1 will be launched in a month, I believe.
Yeah.
And let's see what we get. I'm sorry. For me, iOS 7 has been... it's been good, but it's there are times where. Do you have this problem? Well, you have an iPhone 5C, right, Michael?
Yes, I've got one.
Every time that you install an application, does your phone reset on you?
Every time that I install a mobile application?
Yeah, or when these update. Does your phone reset on you?
Do you know what? I'm ashamed to say, Jaime, that I don't know, because it's been a very long time since I picked up that device.
I don't blame you, but it's just, for me, iOS 7 has been like a total, if they went back to the drawing board and weren't really clear what they were doing and they just threw it out there. And a lot of people are disappointed with it.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I tried to move back into it, and then when I ran into some trouble with Google integration because we use, double security on all of the stuff, and I was like, this just isn't worth the hassle so that I can have not enough room to type on a device. I'm really kind of about, whatever. Anyway, this is good. I think we're going to be able to figure out this iOS and the car thing a little better later when we get our review units in of the new Lincoln Navigator, and the Dodge Durango. We're not doing that. I wish we got review units of cars. That would be fun.
I would be in heaven.
I know you would. I know it would make your whole day. We need a cars tab next to wearables up there. We're about to get to wearables, but before we get there, let's talk very briefly about BlackBerry. So this is important news. Oh, Jaime, you jokester, you. No,
that was not Jaime.
Oh, my God. That was you, Taylor? You cheeky bastard. So I actually, I'm glad you did that because I wanted to omit this from the rundown. We were so packed full of news, I wanted to get rid of it. I'm like, we shouldn't talk about this. But the more I tried to delete it, the more it wanted to stay in the rundown because this is really significant news. This is the most surprising news I've seen in weeks. Legit.
Let me help you. Let's delete it. Let me
No,
help you.
No, because for real, this is really important. So I don't understand how these numbers work out. This has not been reported on widely. This has been reported on by GSM Arena and what's their source? What is their source? DISA.mil, the Defense Information Systems Agency. At any rate, apparently the net result of this is that 80,000 new BlackBerry units have been ordered by DoD. So the actual verbatim text is the program currently supports 1,800 unclassified mobile devices, including iPad 3 and 4, iPhone 4, 4S and 5, Samsung 10.1 tablets, and Samsung 3S. I don't know what that is. And Motorola Razr devices, with participation from the combatant commands, services, and agencies throughout the DoD. And here it is. The program also supports 80,000 BlackBerry phones. So that to me,
was this by choice?
Well, I don't know. I mean, this to me doesn't say like 80,000 new units were ordered. It says the program supports that number of devices. I don't know. But apparently it's real news because the whole BlackBerry stock went up like a lot on this announcement. So
was this just a story from like 2008 that accidentally got bumped to the top of somebody's feed or something?
It sounds like it, right? But
yeah, that's what I think of every time I've seen this headline.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to read the initial report, and it's not making all that much sense to me. So I don't know. But in any case, this was important enough, like I said, to bump the stock, and everyone is perceiving this as pretty good news for BlackBerry. So I have to believe that it is a substantial order, and that the majority of that is new units, and that it's BlackBerry 10, which is the important part. I don't know if any of those assumptions are accurate because I can't make sense of any of these stories, but the numbers don't really line up to me. But if it's true, if I'm just dumb and I can't understand it, this is great news for BlackBerry in a time where we're not seeing a lot of great news out of BlackBerry. So,
I mean, it is, but in the same respect, 80,000 BlackBerries is a very small number. Like, if you're looking for like. Maybe for an enterprise perspective or from an enterprise perspective, it might be a significant thing. But, I mean, in the long or grand scheme of things, is this a big, major thing for BlackBerry? Because I feel like as far as government agencies goes, this might be, kind of a normal thing, or at least
80,000 might be the initial order. Fandroid is speculating on that. The commitment sounds like it has the potential to add more handsets over time, says Fandroid. And
not a chance once they start using them.
No, I don't think that's true. I actually think the opposite. I really think BlackBerry 10 has some compelling stuff in it, particularly for people who are just going to use them as messaging devices. Guys, maybe this is because I've just been obsessively watching The Newsroom, which is set in 2011 and where BlackBerries are prevalent. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've got this Q10 sitting here loaded up with Android apps that I actually like a lot. Maybe it's
This is just because Alicia Keys resigned, and therefore the government is now interested.
Right. That's exactly right. Oh, they got rid of that BS position. Yeah, let's bring them back into the fold.
Michael, you are the exact opposite of a fair weather fan.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. If you fall into the doldrums and you are down on your luck and you're beaten up by the world and in the gutter, I am instantly your biggest fan.
I'm still cracking up at your editorial. Which was it? Our Christmas wish list, the contrarian edition, and I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's like because everyone knows someone who wants to be, who doesn't want to be part of the successful crowd.
The contrarian edition, and I'm like, BlackBerry Q10. What the
hell? Man. Hey, I would have liked it. If I woke up to a BlackBerry Q10 under my Christmas tree, I would have liked it a lot.
So I would have set fire to the tree and tossed the Q10 in.
You jerks. I hope Santa's not listening. Shall we move on to wearables?
You mean my mom?
What?
My dad?
Hey.
What?
Hey.
What do we have?
If NORAD tracks him, he's real, okay?
Oh, yeah, he ate all those cookies that one year.
That's exactly right, and he drank all that scotch. All right, anyway. Santa's, leave him alone, he's busy. Let's jump into wearables, which I don't think we have a sound effect for, so, hey, wearables. What should be the sound effect for wearables? If you've listened to this far into the podcast, you should let us know.
The clanky sound of the pebble with a metal band vibrating.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm finally getting my Pebble serviced. I'm finally getting it warranty replaced because of the busted screen. So.
Wait, you're going to get that replaced, then you're not going to get a Pebble Steel?
Man, we've gone over this. I got a $1,000 uniform that I can't buy. Like, what do you think? No, I'm going to wait for the review unit, and then I'm going to like it for 2 weeks and send it back.
Okay, Taylor, you told us that. What was the name of the Pebble CEO? Steve Michikowski.
Eric.
He told you that he was going to send us review units. Us. Yes. U.S. like us. So
exactly, U.S. Nobody outside the U.S. gets him.
Oh, come on. I can move my domicile. Come on.
I don't know how many review units they're planning on sending us. Probably one.
Yeah, because they're like every order banner that they have is like limited stock. So
yeah,
I can't wait, but I actually don't know which. I mean, Taylor,
fine. So we'll do this in order of seniority. So you just send it to me.
Oh yeah, that'll work out. Well, Taylor, do you want to?
Are we talking seniority with a Pebble? Because then I win.
No, in Pocketnow.
Do you want to review it, Taylor?
Yeah, I'd love to review it.
I really want to review it too. This is weird because usually, guys, listeners, there's a distinct difference. Like I'm like, do you want to review that? And Taylor's like, no, it looks like a piece. And I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. I really want to review this. And so usually it works out that way. And Jaime's like, hey guys, can I review something? I'm like, no, it takes 80 days to get to you.
I challenge you to a street race.
Sounds awesome. I will have my bicycle ready. So let's talk.
Okay, Taylor, you're on street race stick shift. Deal?
Yeah,
Jaime. Only if you move to the United States. Can you please do that to just make things easier on us?
What are you even driving?
No, we're not doing this. We're not talking about cars on this podcast.
What do you drive, Jaime?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that.
They don't exist over there.
That's right.
Oh,
see, fancy. See, this is what happens. Now you feel bad, Taylor, because now you want one. 1 month with Pebble, Chronicles of a Non-Believer. Jaime, tell us about your experience, you non-believer. Have you been converted into the wearable world? Tell us.
I'm trying to convince you to send me a Pebble Steel. How does that sound?
That's a good point. I love that you used Instagram's images as your inline pictures. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So go, tell me.
No, I guess I remember when the first Pebble came out, we were at CES and you were going crazy to go to that event. And I was like, no, let's do something else.
That's right.
For me, a smartwatch has always been like, why would I want to get notified about something in my wrist when my phone is just in my pocket and I could just pull it out? Right. And, the more that I start... So the reason why I got a Pebble was because I moved to a new place and my watches disappeared. Interesting. So all four of my watches disappeared. And so obviously I needed to buy one. But, my taste has become a little more fancy. And I noticed that all the watches that I wanted were in the line of over the Pebble in pricing. And so I was like, wait a second, why am I going to pay this amount for a watch, or even pay, because I was actually willing to buy a Nike Fuel Band or a Fitbit. And I was like, why am I going to pay for these things if I could just, get a Pebble for almost the same price? Mm-hmm. And so that's really the reason why I got it. But I didn't really get it because I was compelled to buy it. For me, it just became a no-brainer. And so far, it's probably been one of the best experiences I've had.
Wow.
Because, first of all, I drive a lot. I have to commute from my apartment to my office to my family's place where I usually eat. I have to do a lot of driving, and it's just cool to not have to pull the phone out to check a notification. I look at my watch. If it's something important, then I pull over, and if it's not, then I just continue driving. Oh, it's Taylor. Okay, so let's just continue. I do that. I do that all the time. So I guess
ignore my emails.
Yeah.
See how it feels, Taylor?
Yes.
No. I guess that there is a compelling reason to own a smartwatch. Not everybody will agree. Obviously, the original Pebble wasn't for everyone. Not everybody liked the design. If I would have known that the Pebble was plastic, the casing, not the band, but the casing was plastic, I would have probably thought twice for the price. But, now that I see the Pebble Steel, I'm like, okay, this is a compelling. I would have probably waited, but I don't regret buying the original Pebble. I think that it's going to be a good fitness tool connected to Runkeeper, for example. But again, I feel that is it worth $150? I do feel it is, because I've been using watches for years, and to be honest with you, none of the 4 watches that I had, I bought. These were gifts to me.
Okay.
Because I don't believe in buying jewelry. I think that it's a way to waste money. And so this is actually the only reason I would buy a watch, if it was something that was useful to me. And that's really what I've learned from the Pebble in the time that I've used it.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad that it was a positive experience. Not just because it was a Pebble. I'd be saying that for any watch. I mean, I think these devices. A lot of people think these devices are a flash in the pan, and
no,
I'm not willing to completely disagree with that. I mean, it could very well be, but I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of excitement, particularly around Pebble, because they've found a way to do a limited set of things very well. Yeah. And now with Pebble Steel, it's starting to solve some of the issues with the first run device looking a little cheap.
Yeah.
But at great cost, though. I mean, I'm not sure. That's the thing. I wanted to pull the trigger on a Pebble Steel the other day, and I agree with you. I mean, I just don't know if the price is,
Oh, I actually don't. I didn't. So I had a problem agreeing with the original price of the Pebble, especially because it's plastic. But I do find $250 to be fair for the Pebble Steel. I mean, how much? If you wanted to buy a Casio Edifice right now, I'm talking about like the high-end Casio, which is a cheap watch. It's not really a high-end watch. It'll cost you $250. So why would I pay $250 for an Edifice where I could just buy a Pebble? Seriously.
That's a good point.
I mean, again, it goes back to the fact that this is a useful watch that actually looks very good. It looks elegant.
I like it. Taylor, you're still wearing yours. Mine's about to get repaired. We're waiting for Pebble Steel review. Joe's still got his. Brandon ordered a Pebble Steel, and I think even Tony ordered one, right?
I don't know about Tony.
No, I think he did. I think he
did. That's news to me.
I don't know if he ordered a Steel, but he ordered a Pebble of some kind.
I'd be surprised if Tony got a smartwatch.
No, here we go. From 9 days ago. Too much time at the ER. This is when they were icing him down from his fever. So I've ordered a Pebble Steel. Why?
Oh.
High fever? Maybe. Or maybe just to have enough reasons to counter your excitement, or maybe I'll love it. And then he says that he makes a comparison that I cannot read on the air, which is very, very funny. Yeah, so this is great. I'm looking forward to hearing what he thinks about it. This whole team is going to be Pebble wearers in a while, and then we'll have the lone Galaxy Gear proponent over here in the corner. That's me. And we have some good news on the Galaxy Gear in 2 forums. Stephen Shank, what?
I was just going to ruin your segue.
Oh, good. We haven't done that yet. Yeah.
I know.
What?
I was just going to say that I'm upset that you overlooked my favorite Pebble Watch apps video that I made. It's not in the rundown. That makes me incredibly sad.
Oh, frown on face. I'm sorry.
You probably didn't even watch that video either, did you?
I did watch that one.
No, you didn't. Liar.
I did too, because that's how I got all the outtakes. From you
All the outtakes?
messing up all the time. Yeah, that's when you were introing Eric. And
No.
you were like, hey, is Eric?
My favorite watch apps for Android, the one I made last week.
The new one.
He hasn't seen it.
No, I haven't seen that. No, I've been on vacation. Eat me.
See? Whatever. All I'm going to say is anybody with a Pebble out there right now, spend the $5 and get the application Tasker and the application Pebble Tasker, and thank me later, because you can do so much crap with your Pebble like that.
Now I want my Pebble to be fixed. Now I'm annoyed because it's broken. Okay, let's go and talk about the Galaxy Gear here, because we're coming to the end of the show, but I want to talk about this. The keyboard that we've seen, Minuum, which I believe, Taylor, you've done a video or two on that.
I have done a video, and I'm actually currently using it as of 2 days ago.
Minuum is that weirdo keyboard with 3 rows of offset letters and a bunch of... It looks just completely unusable to me.
It's a one-line keyboard, so it's a QWERTY keyboard that's squished down into a single row of letters.
Right. And
it doesn't require accuracy, and it works really well.
Which seems like the perfect fit for something like a really limited screen real estate, like a smartphone, a smartwatch, rather. And I had been thinking about this as I've been using the Galaxy Gear more and putting up with the size of the Note 3 in my pocket so I can do it. I mean, that's how much I like the Gear. But the S-Voice interface sucks, of course. And also, you can't dictate a reply. You have to use stored replies in text. So you do have to take your phone out of your pocket if you want a custom reply. And I was thinking, like, what keyboard would work on here? Like, you can't fit a capacitive keyboard on here and expect it to work well, or a full QWERTY keyboard. So Minuum would seem to be the right solution. Taylor, what's your confidence level on this on such a small screen? Do you think you could use it?
Well, it was funny to me that everybody ran this as news. Now, obviously, they just uploaded a new video, and it's pretty cool. It's a good demonstration. But
who? You mean Minuum uploaded it?
Minuum, yeah. But their original video, the one that I was talking about when I made my video months ago when I first tried Minuum, part of their whole idea was to change the way that we use a keyboard to use it on different form factors, and one of the things they had was a very tiny keyboard that they used, I think, like a pencil to type with. I mean, it was tiny, just dots, and they were typing just perfectly fine. And that's one of the reasons this keyboard was designed, not to revolutionize the way we type on our phones, but to revolutionize the way we type on devices that are to come in the future.
So we should have expected this, is what you're saying. You did expect it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they said specifically, like
they were like, we're going to do this thing, and then this thing came out, and then everyone was like, they did this thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Like they showed it before, not necessarily on the Galaxy Gear like they have here,
right? So, and this video looks, I'm not going to run it right now because I can't spare the bandwidth, but I mean, it certainly seems to be quite effective. I'm looking forward to trying it out, even though custom keyboards like this I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, is one question, Michael, this is something I don't know.
Yeah.
When these custom replies for the Galaxy Gear, can you create custom replies and select them later?
Really good question. I think you can. I don't know if you can or not. I should know, but I don't.
Because honestly, I mean, there are certain types of messages that I would want to reply on the go, where it does make sense for me to want to use my smartwatch to reply to something.
Yeah.
I guess I would rather just have a scroll down list of the things that I would want or consider regular replies and not have to type something.
I want to be able to dictate replies. I want to be able to just speak my reply, because I do that half the time on my handset anyway. Do you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be even smarter.
That would be the best way to do this. Now, you obviously wouldn't be able to do it with a Pebble or anything that's not equipped with a microphone, but man, it would be great to use it on the Gear.
I can't wait for that new... Go ahead.
What, Taylor?
That's actually the one thing I wish Pebble Steel had, and that's a microphone.
Yeah, same here. I guess the one usage that I really want from the Gear is imagining myself getting a phone call, driving, and just responding it from my wrist and continue driving and talking to my wrist.
Hey, guess what?
What?
you can create custom text replies using Pebble Tasker and Tasker and send text replies. Hey, wow. Cool. Imagine that.
Hey.
Just saying, Jaime.
Just saying. And before we move on to the last bit of the story, we're still staying on the Galaxy Gear. I want to make my semi-monthly announcement that if you feel compelled to comment on a smartwatch story, please keep the content relevant to what is being discussed in the story. Don't use it as yet another opportunity to foist a piece of anti-smartwatch propaganda on the world again. I am so tired of every smartwatch piece having someone who insists on coming around and saying, I just don't see the point.
Yep.
We've been over this. We've written too many editorials about what the point of smartwatches. And somebody will do it in the comments here, and that's okay. That's what comments are for. It's all right. I'm not that bent out of shape. I just haven't gotten angry voice on the show yet, and it had to happen. So I'm sorry, listeners.
Well, he was angry voice pre-show.
I was way angry voice pre-show. I was dropping
you were
left and right.
I just want to add in terms of or on this Minuum vein.
That was a very funny
I just want to add that this is like the 4th time I've tried Minuum. The first 3 times I switched away from the keyboard in anger because it was just so frustrating to use.
Yeah.
And I've been using it for 2 days now, and it's actually much, much more accurate. And the last time I had used it, they had added a full keyboard for, typing in search queries and passwords and different things like that, because obviously those are a little more difficult when you have to pick each individual letter. So you have a full keyboard in there. I don't know how that plays into the smartwatch thing, but I'm just saying that it kind of takes time. I've tried pretty much every single keyboard out there except for probably, I think it's called Flesky. I haven't tried that one because I just haven't had the time.
Sure.
But it's something I've really been interested in. I mean, I did several pieces on alternative types of keyboards, like the dial one that made everybody's head hurt. And
yeah, this thing was weird.
I just like it. And out of all the, I guess, non-traditional keyboards I've used, Minuum is probably the most accurate and compelling. So having it on a smartwatch. Yeah, I think it's really worth looking into if you're interested in that sort of thing. And it takes time. Like I hate it when people say, I tried it for a few minutes and I hated it, so I switched away. Yeah, obviously, it's different. You've been using a QWERTY keyboard a standard way your entire life. You have to give it a little time. And after 2 days already, I'm moving along very well with it.
Can I be weird on this? Like, am I weird for wanting T9 on a smartwatch keyboard?
Probably.
I think I could still fly on T9. Like, if you guys, when was the last time you picked up a dumb phone and tried to shoot a text? I could still own anyone on T9. I think I'm doing it in my head right now. I'm like, Michael Fisher is the coolest guy in the world. Like, I could do that fast.
See, I was slow on T9, but I don't know. I mean, I just think on a watch, I think this is what this keyboard was built for. I think it's great for this. You just have to get used to it. You have to break free of the thought that you have to hit every letter perfectly.
Yeah.
You have to let loose and just type.
It's like with predictive text. It's like,
no, it very much is.
Yeah, because you have to learn to trust it, and if you trust it, it'll usually work pretty well. Unless it's a Samsung stock keyboard, in which case it'll suck.
Actually, what I've actually come to realize is that it's more like dictation than predictive text.
Oh.
Because you have to think about the word as you're typing it, not, like when you're doing dictation, you have to think about the words that you're going to say next before you say them. So you have to think ahead of what you're going to say. You actually have to think about how to type some things, like, especially if you're used to swiping something out. I mean, I've been doing that for years, and I just kind of hit the high points, and it usually picks out what I want. But on this, where you're so close and so tight, I found it's easy to just kind of skip over a letter or get the order of the letters wrong because you're not moving up and down; you're just moving laterally.
How do you type? We've put Jaime to sleep.
I think we have. Is he alive?
Jaime.
I lost you guys there for about a second.
Oh, all right.
But I just want to say, if you think it's cool, give it a try. If not, then leave it be. Don't just bash it because you're just unwilling to try new technology.
Good advice all the way around. I agree. And rounding out the wearables category, the Samsung Galaxy Gear. What is my biggest complaint about the Galaxy Gear, everyone?
compatibility.
That is right. You have to use it with a Samsung device. I am not a fan of integrating a Galaxy device into my life. It's just not a good fit for me. It doesn't mean it's a bad device. It means it's not good for me. But I love the Galaxy Gear. So I wanted to use it, and well, a lot of things. It's just not a good fit for me. So when I want to use the Galaxy Gear, I want to use it with another device, maybe a Moto X, maybe on occasion any of the other Android devices I have lying around. But I haven't been able to do that until now. The fine people over at XDA Developers have come up with a solution for pairing the Galaxy Gear to a Nexus 5. There are assorted reports of others being able to pair it to an HTC One and so on. And a lot of the functionality comes over here. Apparently all the operations are pretty straightforward, says Stephen Shank. If you want to do this, there's no ADB or anything of that nature required. And
just installing some applications.
Yeah, which sounds awesome, which is why there's currently a Nexus 5 en route to me. Thank you, Taylor, so that I can try this out. Damn it.
For Michael?
Get that to me by Monday.
Yeah, before 7 p.m. today.
Okay.
It'll be on your way. On its way to you.
What do you lose? You lose S-Voice, which I think we can all agree is not a big loss. And in the same vein, weather is broken. There are also some reports that the music player functionality is broken. These are apps I almost never use, so this would be a pretty good fit for me. That said, the camera, call functionality, and general notifications are working, says Steven's story. So you may still be able to squeeze a decent smartwatch experience out of this hack job. This sounds awesome, and I cannot wait to try it.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes.
One, will we see a potential Galaxy Gear pairing with the Nexus 5 from one Michael Fisher in the near future?
We may very well see that. Yes, I don't think we'd be spending FedEx money to just to like keep me happy on Galaxy Gear stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
I have to send that to you for another Nexus oriented video.
True. We have to.
Don't forget about that.
We have to announce that. Yeah.
Second question: how long do you think it will be before Samsung says, "This ain't cool, bro," and starts
cool at all? Yeah, I know. But can they block it though? I mean, I don't think they can.
I'm sure they could.
It just takes a software update, man. I mean, they figured out how to block the Pebble from their Galaxy phone. So
well, they didn't. That's just a compatibility problem.
I'm sure they could do it with like one string of code and like.
Yeah, but what if you don't accept the update though? What if you just don't accept the update and we run into the situation where the folks at XDA are coding custom ROMs for the Galaxy Gear that keeps it safe?
Now they're going to do the app. They're going to do the Apple thing. They're going to do the Apple thing. It does run Android.
Yeah, it runs a full version of Android. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a custom version. It's not a full version. It was a custom version. Like, you can tap twice and hold, and you get the Android multitasking bar. And people have sideloaded Android apps on it. Like, yeah, it's Android. So,
I wasn't sure. I thought it was. I had read somewhere else that it wasn't. Maybe it was before the Gear was official. Probably.
Okay. I'm sure there's some nuance that I'm missing there. I'm sure I should be adding more color to that statement, but just Android, as far as I'm concerned, it's very versatile. I've seen people running full-sized apps on it and such. Like when I was sitting next to Brian Klug from Anantech at an event, he was running speed test on his Galaxy Gear. He was running some crazy full smartphone app on his Gear, and I was like, man, you are awesome. That rocks.
That guy's nuts.
He's great. So hopefully we'll have some more on that. Maybe at some point, Jaime, if we get... That Gear is from AT&T, by the way. That's not mine. But if we get another Gear in the house, if it works well enough, I might actually consider buying my own Gear. And if that happens, Jaime, tell you what, I'll let you borrow it for a little while so you can see what it's like.
So nice of you. So nice of you. Well, the new Gear is supposed to be launched with the Galaxy S5, so cross your fingers.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, I want to see that, too. Ooh, I'm so excited. I love watches.
I don't know why, but I just got like this crazy image of Brian Klug running speed test, like reading like speed test results in binary or something. Like that guy just he blows my mind.
Oh my god. We got to have him on the show. I wanted to have him on the show to talk Flex a while back, and actually maybe this is real news. Yeah, the Flex is coming to AT&T. We knew that, so. Maybe we can have him on to talk Flex after we get the AT&T version. Anyway, guys, it's been over 90 minutes. We've covered a really, really thick rundown. We can't do listener mail because we have to go. My voice is getting there. And I think I'm going to ask you, gents, if you need any, if you have any points to make before we get out the house. Taylor?
Come back to me. I just started.
All right. Jaime? You haven't spoken in a little bit. I feel like we've been neglecting you over there. Maybe because you dropped out.
I think we lost him. So yeah, I was just looking up the FedEx tracking for that Moto X, and it's still MIA. So
wow, that's too bad.
But yeah, I'm ready for the weekend.
We've lost Jaime. Jaime has scrolling dots over his face, so we've lost Jaime. That is sad news. I would love to have him on for the sayonara, but of course we know who Jaime is, and we were happy to have him on the show as always. And Taylor, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I feel
like
as always.
I feel like a staple these days.
You are the regular co-host. I don't know what happened. Something magical though. Something everyone can get behind.
You got tired of finding two people every week?
yeah, it's just easier this way. I wish I could do more podcasts every week, to be honest with you. I don't wish I could edit more of them. I wish I could do them more, because this is fun. Anyway, thank you, Taylor, for joining me. Jaime, one last try. You around?
I'm here, buddy. Sorry, I keep dropping off the call. Sorry.
Well, you've arrived just in time to say goodbye to our loyal listeners.
Did he drop off again?
Yeah, he dropped off again. Oh, that's great. All right. Everyone, that's going to do it today for the episode 080 of the Pocketnow Weekly. Thanks for joining us. You can find us on Twitter, CasperTech, CasperTek, Jaime Rivera, Jaime_Rivera, Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocketnow officially, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Google+, and you can share opinions with other listeners online at forums.pocketnow.com. Hey, if you enjoy the podcast, we'd love a review on Xbox Music, Stitcher, or iTunes, or anywhere else reviews can be left. And if you have a topic, a question, or suggestion for the show, or you just want to say hi, we are watching that inbox at podcast@pocketnow.com, and we'll get to your listener mail again soon. Thank you, sincerely, for listening, and we will see you next week.
Taco!
Anyway, we're gonna call that a goodbye. So, hey, everyone, that's gonna do it for episode 80 of the Weekly for 2013. Now, let's just do that again. And with that, I think we're gonna close out this episode. That is going to do it for see, I have this script that's 2 weeks old, and I'm reading it like an idiot. All right, stop it. Everybody, that's gonna do it for us today. That is going to wrap up my third attempt